Hey folks, you're listening to the Ginger and Chocolate Podcast, real talk about mental and physical health. I'm Lindsay Hyken, and along with my co-host Mike Ergo, we're here to talk to you about all things related to physical and mental well-being, as well as our own love of endurance sports, and to share the other random thoughts that pop into our heads. You can find us on Instagram at Ginger and Chocolate Podcast, join our Facebook page, Ginger and Chocolate, and look us up by name, Lindsay Hyken and Mike Ergo on Strava. If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, feel free to direct message us through our social media accounts. And if you enjoy the show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's get to the show. Okay. Good morning.
What's up, Ginger and good morning. What's up, Ginger and Chocolate listeners, and what's up, Lindsay? How you been?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually feeling pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I slept in. I got up at 3:30 to a cat barking, and then I went downstairs, made myself some coffee, and said, "What? Why am I up right now?" And I went back to sleep until about 6. So for me, that's sleeping in.
Wow.
And it felt great. It felt so good.
Waking up in the middle of the night, making coffee, and then passing back out on the couch is called sleeping in for you?
Well, I went back into my bed and actually
Okay.
slept. Yeah, so I got a couple hours of sleep
Nice.
there. Usually I'm up at 4, and so these 2 extra hours felt great.
4 is a little early.
Yeah. yeah, it is. It is, and I have to get up at 4. I do a running group on Thursdays, and then that starts at 5.
Wow.
And for swimming, I like to have a little extra time to get ready in the morning for my 5:30 swim, so that seems about right for that. But yeah, generally, I'm realizing I really don't need to be up at 4. I really don't.
Yeah, it's the middle of the night. Let me ask you this. What time do you go to bed?
Around 8:30 or 9.
Okay, so like 7.5 hours of sleep?
If I'm getting 7, I'm doing pretty good. But I'm trying to get a little more sleep. I'm trying to really reset things and focus on sleep as a pillar. And
Yeah, we're going to talk about self-care
self-care
today. Yeah, exactly. And this is
Self-care.
perfect topic because this, it's kind of like the knife's edge of like, I mean, the reason you're getting up at 4 are all good, right? It is self-care. You're getting in your workouts, which are an important part of your, good mental health, good physical health, your general well-being. So it's important to make time to get those in. So that is self-care. On the other hand, getting enough sleep is also important and good self-care. So there's that sort of, you've got to try to, I don't know, make time for both, I guess.
yeah, exactly.
So I would say that for me at this age, 8 hours is generally what I need for good self-care. And also actually just to be a normal human being, just for my brain to function at this point, I need about 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours is I mean, that's the standard. And I think for me, if I'm able to sleep past 3:30 or 4 usually, then I can come close to that. But I think, I don't know, it could be medication that I'm taking that helps. I think it is one of the medications I'm taking that sometimes I'm up at 1 and then try to go back to sleep. Sometimes I'm up at 3. So, and if it's approaching 4, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just stay up. But yeah, that sleep is, I mean, I feel it during the day sometimes. Yeah. And obviously if I can get there, I can't go to bed much earlier than, 8:30.
Yeah, it's a little rough to, Well, I was going to say, I like to get 8 hours, but I try to just do a 10 to 6 thing. I mean, I like to get up at like 5 or 5:30, but I give myself the, I don't know, what's the word? Like freedom to sleep till 6 most days.
Yeah.
although it doesn't really happen. Like today, I just woke up at 5:15. So I just got up.
Yeah, it seems to be around. I'm noticing what you're saying. Like last week, you were up at 5:20.
Yeah, that's kind of my time that I think that I like to wake up. My problem right now is that I'm like, oh, I don't have to get up till 6, so I'll stay up farting around until 10. So now I'm not getting.
Yeah.
So I'm realizing, okay, my body likes to get up around 5:15-ish, 5. So I need to actually go to sleep around 9. Which means I need to start right.
It's a discipline.
Yeah, it is. Because there's no other way to describe it other than farting around, period, that I must do before I go to sleep. It's like, I literally just whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm going to fold these clothes and then I'm going to, go put this like conditioning oil in my hair. Or then it's not even like I do the same thing every night.
Yeah.
But there's just like a wind down period where I just like fuss around and like pick up things in my house and just do little things that I feel like I guess make me feel like I've kind of finished the day and I'm setting myself up for the morning. I put my coffee in my coffee maker and measure out my water, and I just do little farting around things. But it's like 45 minutes of farting around. So if I don't start that until 9:30 or something, I'm not even going to get to bed before, till after 10.
Right.
So if I back that up, and I need to start that process at like 8 if I want to get in bed by 9.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But usually I'm like hanging out with my man and watching a show or something at 8 o'clock. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to either squeeze that time down or whatever. But
well, you talk about a balance, and I'm trying to balance out, maybe spend a little time with my wife watching TV or doing something together. It's usually watching TV and getting the sleep that I really like that makes me feel good the next day. So, I could, if left to it, I guess I could go to bed at 7 when I start feeling tired or 7:30 when I'm putting down my kids. But then,
Sarah's not getting any time.
Any relationship time. So, yeah, trying to figure it out. I know Ranga Mel, who we had on here a while back, she was saying that her husband and her have an agreement that she cannot go to bed before a certain hour, so they spend some time together. So it's like a different kind of bedtime limitation. Right. I thought it was pretty funny, but much needed.
Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine from Leah from Team Sheeper, I bumped into her, and I haven't seen her for like a year. I've only seen her on social media and whatnot because of the pandemic. And I bumped into her, and she was saying that she's changed her habits a little bit because she had to travel a lot for work and whatnot. And she would get up to do an early morning swim so that she could go to work on time. And in the pandemic, she said, she's looking fitter than I've ever seen her look. And not even just look, like I can see her numbers on Strava and stuff. She is fitter than I've ever seen her be. And she's killing it. And she said, well, she's doing strength every day, like a small routine, which she sent to me, and I've started kind of doing it. It's pretty tough, but she's also no longer setting an alarm for herself. So she just wakes up whenever she wakes up. And she's like, it's always before 7 a.m. just because that's her natural thing at some point. But she doesn't, she doesn't set an alarm. She just lets her body sleep as long as it needs to sleep. And then she gets up and does what she needs to do throughout the day. And she said it's like completely changed everything for her.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I don't know if my neuroses will let me do that, but I would like it.
I think I might try that out, but what I might try out doing is having like a last minute alarm of like when I actually have to be at work, like the time it's needed to get up and get ready, in case I sleep up until that. Right. But that's a good idea. I like that.
Well, what I'm doing is, I'm doing my own version of that. So just to bring it back to an actual like topic for the show today, guys, we are going to talk about self-care, and obviously how that relates to mental health and also, physical health and in our activities. But But as we've already said, sleep's a huge part of good self-care. And I think a lot of us can relate to, especially those of us who are endurance athletes or athletes of any kind that are trying to get a training block in, when you have other obligations like family and work. That sleep is like, we'll just let that go by the wayside. But, there's a limited amount of time that you can go without enough sleep and also maintain sanity, so this is a huge thing, but I don't I feel like I want to set an alarm and get up. I've been getting up naturally before my alarm, which is nice, but so that I can do my workouts and things that are important to me, and some other spiritual based things I do for my sobriety before work, because a lot of times with my work right now, if work starts, I don't always get, I could go all day and not be able to get my workout in. I'm going to do it at lunch. And then I end up working through lunch. I'm going to do it in the evening. And then the evening comes and I'm like, I still have work left. It's already 6. I have more to do and I'm too tired to go do, so this is, so what I'm doing is though, I am allowing, if I feel like I need to, I'm allowing myself to do a half-hour nap in the middle of the day, right in the middle of the workday. I don't generally take time to go have lunch or take an official break, just because I don't feel like I need to. I'm fine just eating a salad or something while I'm working, but I get tired at night in the afternoon, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go lay my ass down. That's one of the benefits of working from home.
It's good for productivity. It really is, because then you're actually doing work versus just staring at something. I will neither confirm nor deny that this occurred in my office yesterday. So
I don't think any
hypothetically, it sounds like it would be beneficial, and the rest of the day might have gone very well because
yes, hypothetically. I don't think anyone I work with listens to this podcast. So if you do, what happens in Ginger and Chocolate stays in Ginger and Chocolate. Don't be sharing this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of covered sleep. I looked at this sounds kind of basic because we all know.
Are you trying to say I'm a basic?
Well, I know for sure I am. I think each one of us, should define for ourselves the basicness of our bitchiness. You know what I mean? I think that's a self definition, but
that's a self-care.
I was going to say, we've all seen about 10,000 self-care, things on hashtag self-care on, social media. And some of it is all, just BS. And, it's, on Instagram, for example, there's lots of beautiful pictures and quotes, and I've put those up too, and I like them. But there's actually a deeper, that's sort of a superficial view of self-care. It can be as an excuse to do anything. Be like, well, I didn't, finish work because, I had to do self-care, or I didn't pick my kids up at school because I needed to do self-care. So, you can use it for excuse for anything. Right. Exactly. So it can be an excuse. And also there's sort of this thing of putting out a beautiful image on Instagram and being like, hashtag self-care. But there's a lot of layers of actual, if you really think about what it means to take care of yourself, that's a multifaceted topic. From as simple as I will just take the time to eat healthy meals. I will acknowledge that my work, my family, whatever is important to me, but it shouldn't supersede basic, my own basic needs. I need to nourish myself. I need to get sleep. There are things I need to do to be a productive and, quote unquote, normal human being. And a lot of us will skip those for other things, right? We'll skip We won't practice.
Right.
We won't get enough sleep. We don't feel, and what's the underlying feeling, at least for me, and I've heard other people express this, the underlying feeling there is that there's a lack of feeling like you deserve it. Like, I'm not worthy of stopping work in the middle of work and taking a short nap, or taking time to feed myself, or taking time to take a quick walk. I don't deserve even that minimal level of care.
Right.
My job is more important than that. Finishing the spreadsheet is more valuable than I am as a human being. And so for me, when I say self-care, I'm talking about really stopping for a second and acknowledging that I'm a worthwhile human being, that just how I am. Right?
Yeah, you deserve it. You are worth it and worthy of it. It's a hard thing, I think, for a lot of people, because we would never treat a lot of our friends the way we treat ourselves in terms of the self-talk. We would never talk to our friends. We wouldn't
have friends if we talked to them like that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have friends. Exactly.
Like, they'd be like, fuck you. He's saying that shit to me.
I know, talking to your friends like, good job. Fuck that up.
You should have done that better. Second place. Why didn't you get first place?
Yeah.
Or in my case, 435th place. Why didn't you get 434th place?
Well, you podiumed on that. Last year didn't happen, but the 2019 Folsom trial.
Yeah.
Right? You got second? Yeah. So you podium. Even there, you're talking shit.
Literally, what popped into my head when you were saying that is, yeah, but that's a small race that doesn't count. So, yeah, I mean, I've been working on myself for a long time, and the first thought is, if it's something that I accomplished, it must not have been that big of an accomplishment,
Yeah, exactly.
Which is sad. I mean, that makes me like, if my daughter was talking about herself that way, I would feel sad for her. And I'd also yell at her. Well, not yell, but I'd be like, don't say that to yourself. You're worthy. But I do it to myself all the time.
I saw this hilarious, I think it's a cross stitch, one of those old timey things. And it said, be nicer to yourself. And then in small letters, you dumb bitch.
Is that Liam?
Oh, yeah, we got some excitement here in the house. Hopefully most of it will be edited out, but...
Whatever.
Right.
He sounds how I feel inside a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, we're talking self-care, and I took a day off from work last week. I really had to. I just needed a day, and... Originally, I was supposed to go out fishing with some friends on a boat. That fell through, and so I had the opportunity to go back to work. And then I said, no, I'm going to take my son out and go fishing. And so we had such a great day together. I went fishing right in Tomales Bay, a place called Dillon Beach. And it was so great because we were crab snaring, which is where you take a fishing pole and you put this crab snare on the end of it. It has some bait on it and these little loops that when you reel it in will catch the crab legs on it and reel this crab in. Well, we caught some crabs. My boy got to catch a fish all by himself and reel it in. So it was like the ultimate. And then after that we went home and we went to his t-ball practice. So it was like the ultimate father-son day. And that, I needed that so much, and I think he did too. So it was a great form of self-care, and I think one that is in the arena of relationships and doing things together with people who matter to you, things that are just fun, just for fun.
Yeah, that's part of the self-care. I mean, we talk a lot about some serious mental health issues, obviously food and addiction and depression, but there's also just like the sort of underlying like burnout, I mean, there's like these like low grade depression, just feeling drained. All of that can be, a lot of that is not, doesn't require like meds and a therapist. It requires just that you do exactly what you just did, which take a little time, for yourself and the relationships that matter, and refocusing on what is important.
Yeah. And for that day too, it was important that I actually caught something. I really wanted to catch something that day because I've been out with him a few times, and we were like, we'd catch nothing. And he's like, Dad, we never catch fish. And I was like, oh. So I'm reeling this crab in, and he sees it and he's all excited. And I'm like, yes. And then it falls off the snare about 5 feet from the beach. And in my mind, I was like, oh, fuck no. And so I ran, not taking anything out of my pockets. I ran and dove in the ocean and like swam down this crab and got it and brought it in, much to the amusement of everyone else on the beach who was, fishing too. They're like, I've never seen someone do that before. And I was like, I'm not going home empty-handed this time. So that was why I Facebook messaged you and said, hey, Lindsay, I don't have a phone right now because it's kind of damaged and doesn't work.
Wow. Okay. I guess I thought there was an accident. I didn't realize that you just like...
It's self-inflicted. Yeah. I take everything out of my wallet and like dry it out.
But your kid's got to be so impressed with that. I mean, for real.
And he's like, Dad, why'd you dive in the ocean? I was like, to get you that crab.
It was a good size one too. I saw pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. It was worth it for me. I mean, I was, it was about time to get a new phone anyways. And so I think just for the experiences, it was worth it. Now, when I had to dive in the ocean to rescue a crab snare that snapped off my line on Sunday, I did the smart thing. I walked over to my wife and said, would you please hold my phone and wallet? She said, I'm proud of you for doing this and not just jumping in the water. And then I jumped in the water and swam out and got this crab trap and stuff.
Doing all kinds of open water swimming by accident.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. It's not even on Strava, so I didn't even get credit for
it. You got to have that Strava ready to go at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So in Psychology Today, they had an article about self-care. And it said basically 4 questions that you can just ask yourself to sort of check in to see, how you're doing on self-care and what kinds of things might you do to like do a little bit of self-care. So I'll ask these to you and see kind of what you think. So the first one says, the first question is, are there changes I want to make? They're talking about not, remodel your kitchen, but like habits and things in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I would say yes.
What are those?
And what are those changes? I would like to find a healthier relationship with food. And I'd like to change my relationships to where it's not like gorging for emotions. So I think that's the biggest one. And I would also like to make the change of getting more sleep and putting that a priority, because the last 2 days I've done that, I feel fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And they actually may tie together. I mean, I know when I'm tired, I'm more prone to stuff, snacks and treats and stuff, and just to kind of like continue. It's almost like I'm just trying to fuel my way through. Right.
Yeah. That's what tired people will eat more donuts. That's just 100%, how it is.
100%. Okay. So that's a big change. But I think, and it's funny because under that question on the Psychology Today article, it says that, under the heading of, are there changes I want to make? It says, one surprising thing that can make a big difference is your sleep. So they're basically saying start with that as a self-care, as a form of self-care. And that will kind of help springboard these other changes that you want to make. It's getting enough rest. All right.
Yeah. So are we going to do you two on this?
Okay. I was just going to do
Yeah, let's both answer.
Yeah, actually, there are changes I want to make, and mine are also around food. We have different, you and I have different approaches to our disordered eating, but
Mm-hmm.
disordered eating it is for both of us. So I am a professional dieter, I would say, in the sense,
Yeah.
in the sense I've tried them all, and and the result of that professional dieting has been just sort of a generalized disordered eating, like a lot of fear of different foods, like, oh, I can't eat this bread. Oh,
Uh-huh.
I can't do that. Oh, this, that, the other. But then binging on it because I've followed a restricted, either caloric restriction or like a list of foods I can't eat, or, no sugar, no grains, no
Yeah.
this, no gluten, no, whatever. So I am working on it. I've shared before that a listener actually introduced me to the concept of the basically intuitive eating. On
Yeah.
one of my early episodes, I think before you even joined the show, I was talking about eating, and
Yeah. Right
someone,
on.
a listener who I don't know, isn't a personal friend of mine, messaged me on Instagram, was like, you need basically, it was like, have you tried intuitive eating, because you need help. She was
Yeah.
and so that I got the book, I read part of it, and then I started trying, and then I got afraid and stopped, and I've done that a couple of times. And so right now I'm in the midst of I've committed, and why I get afraid is that basically the premise is that you can't eat intuitively if you've been doing a lot of this messing with your diet, because you don't know. I've been
Yeah.
using external factors to guide when I eat and what I eat. So I have no ability. I've lost my ability to intuit how much I need to eat and what I need to eat. Because it's always
Yeah.
like, well, I'm only eating between 10 and 6, or I'm only eating this food, or whatever. I'm weighing and measuring. I'm counting calories. I'm counting macros. So the beginning phase of that is for you to let go of the diet mentality and to just eat whatever. And they make they say, take a list of foods that you are dying to eat, like that's on your your sort of like sin food list, and just try each one of them.
Red vines.
Oh, I've been doing I got a black and a red. I'm like, here they go. And it's not saying eat it till you're sick. It's just saying, like, you've got to like get your mind back into a sort of like understanding of, and your body of, like, you can eat whatever you want whenever you want. But if you're if you are kind of back in touch with your body, you'll be able to be like, I'm actually full, or that actually doesn't taste that good. One of the things that makes that taste so good is that it's a forbidden item.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So I bought Twizzlers too, because I was
cool.
like, ooh, I love me some Twizzlers. And I ate like 2 of them, was like, this tastes actually like plastic and not good plastic. And the packet's just sitting there. Like, I haven't even eaten it. Now, under normal circumstances, I would have shoveled that in, because it would have been like a whole mixture of guilt, anxiety, and also fuck it at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
So that's what the change I'm making. And the self-care aspect of that is that it's like allowing myself to eat these forbidden foods and try them out without the guilt and the negative self-talk. And so it's like this constant reminder, like my brain will be like, you can't eat that. And I'm like, oh no, I can't eat this. I'm going through a process. There is a process, and I'm going through it, and it's okay. And it's actually been kind of cool, because I've been going to bed not reviewing my food and being like, you piece of shit, you should get. I've just been like, hey, those Twizzlers tasted like plastic. Probably not going to eat those again. I wonder what I'm going to try tomorrow. What's on my list of things? There's this like dark chocolate toffee that's coming up. It's on my list. That's like a homemade one that they sell at our little natural food store. And every time I see it, I'm like, no, but I never get it. So I'm going to go buy a bag of that and check that out. And it's just like, but the practice is to not hate myself while doing it, and to savor the food and taste it, and really like, and because I'm not in the throes of like binging and self-hating and guilt because I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of like being curious about the actual food. They're like, be curious about the actual food. Does this actually taste good to you? Or is it emotional eating? Or does it have nothing to do with food? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting. And I'm finding that some of the things I like, and some of the things that I thought I loved, I don't like that much because it was not really about that item. It was about
Mm-hmm.
me, quote unquote, failing on a diet and then just like going to town on something.
Going to town. Yeah, I hear you. Well, that's a good change.
So that's me. All right. So question number 2. What activities bring me joy? That's question number 2.
Okay. So for me, that is fishing, watching my son play t-ball, swimming, biking, and running. Those do bring me joy. And let's throw in another
Racing.
one. Yeah, racing. Oh, racing. Yes. Racing brings me intense joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say pretty much a lot of the same stuff. Swim, bike, run, particularly trail run. I also like mountain biking. I like racing. I love the whole process, picking a race, signing up for a race, you know, and visualizing being on the course. But I also like hanging out with my dogs and my family, my partner, my kids who are young adults, and just, you know, especially my daughter and I hang out and just talk smack about everything and everybody. It's so fun.
I'm going to throw that on my list too of the family time, especially we've been going to the ocean and I love that. Family time at the ocean is good.
Mm-hmm. I feel like anytime I'm out, for me, outside, like in nature, whether I'm hiking, whatever I'm doing, walking my dog, like anytime I'm outside breathing fresh air and just kind of like being out there, alone with people, whatever, I'm like, I feel so just filled with peace and joy.
Oh, good.
So that's, you know,
yeah.
Okay. So what if what if we have a listener who is not someone who is real in touch yet with what they like to do? What would you suggest that they like? How do they?
I'd say go back to when you were a kid and what kind of things did you like to do as a kid?
Yeah.
And some of those things will still resonate today. Like some of them won't. Like I don't probably get as much joy looking at baseball cards as I used to, you know, but
there are adults who do, right? Yeah.
There are adults who do. Yeah. I mean, if I was doing it with my son, I would, but I think a lot of the same stuff, you know, spending time with animals too, that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
That being outside, exploring, catching fish, did that as a kid. So yeah, that makes it a little easier because you can then connect to the emotion of, oh, I love doing that, you know, and try it out again and see. So I'd say, yeah, look at what you did early in life.
Yeah. And you might need to, this might be a process for you, similar to the process that I just described, like with the food experiencing. One of the things that helps to figure out what you like to do is to clear away any preconceived notions or guilt that you have about allowing yourself to, quote unquote, indulge in a something purely for the joy of it.
Yes, it's like you don't have to become an expert at it. It doesn't have to bring you money.
Right.
You can do it just for fun.
Yes, you do get to do this for fun, just for you. And it's okay. And you don't have to always be adulting 24/7.
Well, it's more than okay. It's restorative. It's refreshing. It's what brings us vitality. You know, that really good health, not just, so it's more than just something we can excuse. It's something that we should do to fulfill us, to really make us healthy. Yeah,
I think it makes me, for me, engaging that kind of thing, and I think I've shared this on the show before, but one of the things that really like stands out in my mind is one day at Masters Swimming, we were doing a thing that they call circuit. And basically you get in your lane with your swimmers, and at the front of the lane is paper that says what the workout is, but there's a different thing in each lane. And after 5 minutes, the coach just goes switch, and everyone moves over. Your whole lane moves over a lane, and then you do that workout for 5 minutes, right?
Oh,
and it's all,
I
he'll
see.
have different goofy stuff. I mean, some of it will be sprints or this or that. It's always like different strokes, and he'll be like,
That's
he'll
cool.
be like a dolphin kick with like a breaststroke arms or something, just different things, right? Sometimes you'll be doing like a water polo like exercise, which is hard because we aren't water polo,
Yeah.
It's fun. But in one of the times it was like basically swimming back and forth underwater without, with as few or no breaths, right? And so
Yeah.
I was swimming underwater, and my friend Mary Lou was, because we circle swim in our lane, she was coming up the other way and I was going back, right? And we were underwater. And she just like looked at me under the water and had and puffed her cheeks out and made this like goofy little face. And we were like, okay, Mary Lou's like almost 60 and I'm, 50, and we're in there, it like kid-like. And I remember thinking like, this is like, this reminds me of my childhood. And I'm a better person. Like I had a great day that day, like I was a better person in the world that day for making, goofy faces under the water with Mary Lou. So let yourself do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is a good one, and you're great at it. Where can I add self-care to my busy schedule?
Where can I add it to my busy schedule?
I think it just kind of means like a lot of,
like where during the day?
How can you weave that
Yeah.
in basically, because people tend to just go, I'm too busy for that self-care BS.
Oh yeah, weekends for sure. Weekends, and let's see. Sometimes during and sometimes after work. That's and for me before work too. If I'm getting up early, depends like how early I'm getting up, but But I mean, sometimes it takes some intention, like where you are actually spending time with the people you're with. Like spending time with animals too. And for me,
and I totally agree. And in this article, they're basically just suggesting that you start small and that you do a daily, like 15 minutes of self-care before it says, before you check your phone, before you check your email, before you do, just do that self-care activity, because we're so prone to getting sucked into other things and not doing that. Like you for sure, everyone listening to this for sure has 15 minutes for themselves every day, because you spend at least 15 minutes dicking around on Facebook and Instagram or whatever it is. You do. It might not be those. It could be gaming. It could be whatever. You do something that is sort of a low value activity, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you could dedicate 15 minutes of that time to the self-care.
Exactly.
Yeah. I need to remind myself that when I get too busy to meditate. Well, did you need to like everyone's activities on Strava today, or could you have meditated for 5 minutes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And then just the last thing that they suggest to sort of like solidify this for yourself in your mind is like, how will self-care improve my life? How will it make me happier? What are the benefits for me personally? Yeah. So for you personally, what are the benefits of self-care?
The benefits, let's look at, specifically on the sleep aspect. I'll feel better during the day. I'll be more focus is a benefit when I have to work, when I'm doing work. And then I'll be more pleasant to be around if I get better sleep. I won't be short with people, or I won't be annoyed. I'll feel good about myself, which will help me do more things that are good for myself, get on that momentum. And I'll enjoy racing more. That.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Mike here. I want to talk to you a little bit about UCAN Superstarch, my preferred sports nutrition for triathlon, running, and more. I've been using UCAN for about a year and a half, and what I love about it is that it stabilizes my blood sugar, and I notice this by the fact that I don't have any spikes or crashes. Anyone who's ever raced or trained hard knows that with a lot of the sports nutrition stuff out there, you can get a nice burst of energy, but then it's kind of like a bright flame, burns bright, then goes out quickly, and then you crash, and then you're hungry again, and you got to repeat that cycle, and eventually you get gassy, bloated, and just feel yucky. I don't have any of those problems with UCAN because I can take it an hour to a half hour to even 15 minutes before an event and feel great. And the thing is, it keeps me going. I've used only a few bottles of UCAN to complete 3 70.3 mile triathlons last year, and I never felt hungry. That was the thing. I was a skeptic at first, but I've come to really love UCAN. So if you guys want to check it out and get some of your own, check out our show notes and click the link there, and you guys will save at least 10%, depending on what kind of deals are going on. So check it out. Look in the show notes, click the link, and check out UCAN.
In this article, they do something which I think is actually interesting, and I might try it. It says to start out, take an inventory of your life and kind of write down what kinds of self-care activities and habits are missing. Because we all know kind of an ideal of what, for the most part, what we should be or could be doing for self-care. It's just we may not be practicing it. So you've identified, for you, maybe the sleep is one of the habits that needs a little bit of work. The food stuff, same for me. But for those of you who are maybe not, haven't done anything like this before, just jot down a list of like items that you think would make yourself, in a perfect world, say you had all the time, like don't worry about how much time you have or whatever, just like what's kind of missing, like regular and consistent sleep, eating healthy meals, regular movement of my body. It doesn't have to be racing Ironman distance triathlon. Like it doesn't have to be that, but if it is, great.
It really doesn't.
Mike and I like that, but it could be other things. And then it said, just start with something that's reasonable and attainable. So don't start with the Ironman, start with a sprint, or maybe even start with a walk around your neighborhood.
Exactly. Yeah. Start with something that's doable and fun.
Self-care is more like a skill that you need to develop over time than it is just something you have to like just do. And it's going to be, it's just about sort of exploration and figuring out for yourself, what works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's worth it, right? Because it helps with the mind and the body. And, I don't know about you, but I want to be happy, joyous. And
I want to be happy too. Yeah. It gets overlooked though, because it's worth bringing up. I want to be fulfilled. I want to be someone who's able to enjoy, the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, and I think happiness, although societally we tend to look externally for happiness, I think it's actually really an inside job. I mean, there are plenty of people who have a lot of things that are really unhappy people. And there are people who have very little in terms of material wealth who are happy. And so for me, it comes down to like the quality of my mental health and physical health. In terms of how quote unquote happy I feel, Okay. That was kind of our topic, but I do still want us to talk a little bit about our favorite sport, just because that's what we do for.
So we get started on this.
Yeah, exactly. So just give me a recap of, you've been raising money to do Kona.
Yeah.
In October,
October
Okay,
9th.
October 9th. How's training going?
Training is starting to pick up. It's been hard, and I realized it was harder because I wasn't getting good sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd wake up in the morning with plenty of time to do it, but walk around like a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did this morning is like I could have gone swimming, but I, to add an extra workout to my day, which I'm eventually going to do on Wednesdays too. But I chose to sleep in to kind of reset myself, to be healthier, to do some self-care, to be happier. And training's starting to pick up though. So I'm really starting to enjoy the process, especially when I'm well rested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I do feel like I'm lagging behind because I'm comparing myself to 2017 me when the world was not in a pandemic and I was much more fit and I was 20 pounds lighter.
Different age too.
So it's a different age. Yeah, that's a good point. So that is something I've had to look at, and my strategy for when I catch myself comparing myself and having unhelpful thoughts is like I have this exercise where I imagine all these thoughts in my mind. I will take them and put them on a leaf that's floating down a stream and just let them go by and say, okay, let me step back for a second and just come back to right now. I'm doing the best I can for a pandemic year and for where my body is right now, and not having to compare that to me where I was more fit and it was in a better place and there wasn't a pandemic.
Right.
Yeah. So it's coming along, which is good. It is coming along. And I'm really excited because my first race coming up is in Ohio.
When is it?
And I'm carrying July 25th in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, technically Delaware, Ohio. So I'm carrying a flag for my best friend who was killed in action. And it's going to be so great because his family's going to be there. And he's actually the guy I named my son after. My son's middle name is Todd, and I'm racing for Todd Godwin, my best friend and fellow Ginger.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been talking with his mother and his sister, and his whole family's excited about this. So it's a 70.3, and I'm going to be ready and pumped and just like, it's going to be a good day.
I'm going to be racing Oregon 70.3 on the same day.
Yes.
this year. I was going to put it off, but I'm not. So I'm going to do it this year. And
that's
I
awesome.
will, when I'm out there suffering, I will be thinking about you and Todd. And I'll be like, you know what, girl, you're not carrying a full-size flag right now. Just, you can run. You're okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I hear that your kids are probably waiting for you outside the door.
Yeah. Speaking of suffering, right? Yeah. So, maybe that's at a good point to leave it. We both got some 70.3s coming up on the same day, and we'll keep checking in with training. We'll check in with self-care, and what we'll do is look in the show notes. We're going to put a link to this article we read, and listeners, you can look at that yourself and email us and let us know about your self-care and your journey with that. We'd love to hear it. We'll read it on the show.
Absolutely. Let us know what you are doing to take care of yourself this week. All right. I think we did it. So we'll see you guys next week, and have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. All right, everybody. That's another episode of Ginger and Chocolate. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you like the episode, please share with a friend. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio. Check us out. Facebook, Instagram, and email us with any ideas for the show or feedback. gingerandchocolatepodcast@gmail.com. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Until next week. See you later.